Hi. You've come here and you've expected something very special. I know. Hi. And you're getting it because I'm hearing myself on repeat, which is always fun. So I'm going to stop that right now. That happens every now and then because technology is a mystery that is slowly unfolding before me. I should know everything about it, but I don't. And sometimes I make mistakes. So welcome to my mistake. Let's figure it out. This is the first episode of SPP The Lesson. And I know you're all wanting to learn something tonight. I know I am. If you are here and you don't know things, let me know. And maybe I could teach you something. I don't know. Right now, I'm going to make sure that we have the absolute best internet possible, as I often do at the beginning of the show. And hopefully we do. I'm checking right now. Checking. We're going to get it. It's going to be fast because I pay Comcast to make it that way. And here we go. Yeah, that should work. Okay. Welcome again to this broadcast, this streamcast, this whatever cast. We are here tonight, and I have a lovely guest with us. She is a talented actor, Riz. I never get that right. A talented actor. You can say it either way. It works. And she was most recently cast in the Savannah Repertory Theater's production of Light in the Piazza, which did not happen, which is sad. And we can talk about that. But let's talk about other things. I want to talk about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I'll get this wrong because I always do. Natasha Drena.
You did it.
Did I get it right?
Yes. It's a long
Yes.
E. Everybody always. I've actually had people say Drena and I correct them and they say, "Are you sure?" I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know my name.
So I actually have an Aunt Drena.
Oh, yes. I usually as a first name.
Yeah.
It's a short E. Robert De Niro's daughter's name is Drena.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Deanie? You have a famous counterpart in Robert De Niro. She never watches, so but
yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. It's not very common.
Yeah. And it's even less common to have an Aunt Deanie because Drena doesn't seem like it would be Deanie, but that's what it is.
No. Right. You didn't mention that in your intro that you were going to play my husband.
That is true. I was going to play your husband before I dropped out. And then Mark Rand was going to play your husband.
Oh, no. I see. Mandy didn't tell me that part. Who introduced us. Because my joke was, for this thing, we should just do all the scenes that we didn't get to do.
We should, although I don't have any of the material.
But totally out of context and like maybe not in order.
Right. Not at all in order. And I would just improv the whole thing because, again, I don't have any of it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I didn't know that you dropped out. That's exciting. I mean, I'll have to hear that.
Well, no. It was. I'll tell you why. Because I and my daughter were cast in Seussical. And for me, it's always been first doing it with my family and then later doing it with other groups just to extend my range and everything. But I so enjoyed doing it with her. So we were going to be in Seussical together and I was looking forward to that. So I couldn't do it. Anyway.
And because of did you guys not get to do Seussical because of coronavirus either?
Exactly.
What a crazy time.
Yeah. Really crazy.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, we're all on pause.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're all on pause. Like, you want me to pause right now?
Yeah. No.
I'm very direct. Yes. So I have been acting since I was 8 and I'm in my mid 40s. And so, yes, I take direction well. I'm like, oh, you pause? Okay, let's pause.
That's excellent. It's good. It's good that you take direction well. I do not.
Well, you told me that you are newer to this.
I am.
Acting.
I started when I was 40. So it has been.
Yesterday.
Yeah. No. I'm a little older than 40. Even though, I use lots of balms and creams and ointments and, keep me young looking, as well as stress. Stress also slims you down really well. It's a great
That's not what the COVID-19, COVID-20 people are saying.
It's true. They are not. COVID-19 slowed everything down, put it to a halt, and you were about to be in Light in the Piazza, which is an amazing show.
I know, such a good story. I don't want to like tell it for people who don't know it. I don't want to like spoiler alert it, but I know, and I had been waiting to play that part. So I do a lot of regional theater. I joined the union when I was, in my 20s. And so that kind of pushes me into doing regional contracts, which I love, which is great. And we can get into why of that. But but it's always this, I'll call it a crapshoot. That seems to be the PC term for it. Of when something finishes on Broadway and when then it goes on tour and nobody can have the rights, and then it opens up to the regional theaters to be able to do it professionally. And so I remember seeing the Light in the Piazza at Lincoln Center, and inside just like praying that it would last a really long time on Broadway. And I had taken voice lessons from Victoria Clark, who played Margaret, the lead in when I was in New York. And then it came out, I think like its first go around, I was probably 38 or 39, and which is a little bit too young to have a 20-something-year-old daughter. And so, but I did get called back for it a couple times, just knowing that I was just kind of busting that audition, trying to like, I don't know, have the maturity to do it. But so I know I missed out on it, and I thought maybe I would not get to do it because some shows that aren't very well known, like don't circle back around like the classics do. And so I was excited to see it. And I have a lot of friends in Savannah that can't travel to see me work all the time. And so I know, but oh well. Everything happens for a reason. That is something I learned being in theater. So I'm going on 20 some odd years of professional theater, of this being my job. And I always tell students or people that are new, I'm like, something always happens for it. It always works out. Yeah. Yeah. You might be sad about it for a second.
It's a mixture of, it's a mixture of hope and skill to some certain degree. Absolutely. You have to be skilled at it, but mostly it's luck.
Yeah. It's mostly luck. Then it's cultivating relationships the first time you get the luck.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I could see that. I can see that for sure.
Like, are you easy to work with? Are you on time? Are you off book? Did you deliver the performance they thought you were going to by your audition? Then you kind of get like an edge. So, yeah, it's good to be prepared.
Yeah, it is. It's true that if you don't come to the job and think that it's not going to be a profession, if it's not going to be, if it's not just fun for you, it should be fun for you, absolutely. But it should also be your job. When you walk it through the door, that should be in your mind that I'm here to work.
Well, and a lot of times in professional theater, you get 2 to 3 weeks to completely rehearse and block a show. So I always say to myself and to students, if I don't like come in off book and I don't come in with ideas, then I don't get to create anything. I just get told what to do and where to stand. And that's not fun. I did that for years. Like I replaced people in tours and then they're like, stand on this number, do this, face exactly this direction. This is your reaction. And I'm like, I might as well work in a cubicle. Like, I don't want to do that's not fun.
Yeah. You want to create something.
I want to create something, but not everybody. Some people are like, there's no shade. Some people are more there for the applause. Like they like the validation of it. That's what fills them in theater. Some people are there for the community of it because there's a great community, in theater. And I don't know, some people are there to create something. And I think that's why I really found that I loved the South after years of working in the San Francisco Bay Area and working on the East Coast. And I worked in the Midwest. I was in Chicago for a couple of years, Indianapolis and Chicago for a couple of years. And then we came down here and I did my first show in the South and everybody just kind of took their time with stuff. they have a very different way of telling stories. And in the Atlanta theater community, most places adhere to this concept of the best idea wins. So like a lot of times we're putting on Les Mis in a really small space, or we're doing something and it's like we don't have a revolve and we don't have $1 million budget. And so it's kind of like, hey, who knows how we can make this work? And so I liked that, because that to me, like, bookended, like after I got to college for acting and I was, working in shows that I didn't feel like were very creative, and you're just filling in for somebody that already created the role. So then for me, this was like the perfect marriage of getting to have that community that you get when you first start theater, when you're a teenager, or if you're older, like, what the community of theater feels like. So for me, the South has been like the perfect blend of that. I can't imagine going anywhere else.
So professionalism and family, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure we were getting that right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that way too. To a great degree. This the local community here is it's diverse, that's for sure. Let's see who is talking here.
Hi. Oh, yes. So I am Melody of the Savannah Music Festival Musical Explorers program, which is I've been doing for like 6 years now. So anybody that has, so I have a 12-year-old, and she was in first grade, the first year that we started it. So yes, and with COVID, I did not get to see my sweet musical explorers this spring and I was devastated.
Aw.
I know, it's sad, but thanks.
Yeah. Deirdre, what do I know of Deirdre? I know Deirdre, don't I? Yes. So Deirdre's son was in Peter Pan with me. He played. Oh,
yes.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good show. Very good. So where did you do most of your work in Atlanta?
I usually work at Actors Express, which is a smaller theater. It's like a black box style. They can move the seats around in West Midtown. And then up in just outside the perimeter is a larger theater called the Aurora Theater. And that's actually kind of how my whole, do you want like the funny Judy Garland version?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Here's the whole story. I'm going to be fast about it though. I can sing like Judy Garland.
Okay.
But I kind of like, I don't know, quit. I just wasn't telling people that anymore. And so about, I'm going to say 15 years after I graduated from college, I was in Indianapolis doing cabaret at Beef and Board's Dinner Theater. And this guy named Joe Sark that I went to college with, he was going to be playing Cable in South Pacific. So, which was like the next show. So in Dinner Theater, it's like overlapping all the time. Like they're rehearsing, you're performing at night. So we went to this party and he, and we hadn't seen each other in 15 years. And he said to his friend, this is Natasha Drena. If you close your eyes, she can sound just like Judy Garland. And I was like, I should put that back on my resume, because if that's what you remember, if that's what you remember about me, I guess I should like put that on my resume. So I did. And I went to this next audition, and it was one of those auditions, I don't know if you've ever had this, where the guy behind the table was just yapping the whole time. Like he was turning and talking to the people next to him, and I was like, just getting angrier and angrier. I was just singing Night and Day by Cole Porter. And then when I finished, he was like, have you ever heard of this play? It's called Beyond the Rainbow. I need somebody, I'm directing it in Atlanta, and I need somebody who can sing like, it's like someone who does Judy Garland's concert at Carnegie Hall. And he and I had met a few times, like in the theater scene in Indianapolis. And he said, I've been wanting to work with you. This seems like the perfect fit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pit you up against like the best actor they can find in Atlanta. And I was like, that's funny. My husband and I are literally moving to Savannah in 2 months. So we had already planned to move to Georgia. I had no idea how far away Savannah and Atlanta were at the time. And so,
right around the corner.
I was like, great, that's fantastic. And so we moved to Savannah, and I drove up for the callback, and I sang up against this beautiful woman who like literally has massive Broadway credits, and I was like, whoa, the whole time. And I was always kind of the sidekick character. I didn't do a lot of leads, and but I think it was just like the role that was right for me and for that time in my life. And so I got to meet the incomparable Bob Farley, who was like a founding father. He used to be the artistic director at the Alliance. He founded the Georgia Ensemble Theater. He was the artistic director at Alaska Repertory. And he and his family really took me in and introduced me all around to the Atlanta theater community. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was just like the best mentor. And he walked me out on the stage, and he was like, can you play to this, probably like a 600 seat house? Can you hold this? Can you carry this show?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. It was the first time I felt like, that I wasn't like faking it till I made it. I was like, yeah, this is it. And so, yeah. And then I met like Ann Carroll Pence, who she's one of the producing artistic directors at the Aurora Theater. She was the music director on that show. So since I was the only one singing these 24 songs, I just spent all my time with her. And then they were opening their new theater and doing Annie Get Your Gun. And she said, do you want to play Annie and Annie Get Your Gun?
Of course.
And I was like, no. That's not my role. Like, oh, I'm not that girl at all. And she was like, I think you are. And I did it. And I won like what's called a Susie Bass Award, which is the big like theater awards in Atlanta. So she was right. I was wrong. She knew my type better. And then
no, I honestly, I saw it right away. As soon as you said, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I'm so glad that she convinced me to do it. And then the rest is kind of history. But then to spring onto the one of the shows you wanted to talk about. So I was very newly pregnant. I got pregnant during Annie Get Your Gun. And so I was living at Ann Carroll and her boyfriend's house. They're the co-producing artistic directors of the Aurora Theater in Lawrenceville. And one day, Freddie Ashley, who had just taken over at Actors Express, called Ann Carroll and said, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this story, but I'm going to.
We have a small audience. There's 2 people watching right now.
Okay, so great. I just don't want to offer shade to anybody.
Right. No.
So he called because he'd just taken over at Actors Express, and they explore gay and homosexual themes at that time much more distinctly. And the artistic director who had just left had put in the season that they were going to do the Fantastics with 2 boys.
Okay.
It was not okay by the rights company. This is my
that's absolutely
right.
This
is
You're
like what I think I know. So I'll bet I might be wrong, but this is what I remember from it. So at the last minute, the last 5 years, as I was talking about earlier, had just become available. And so he kind of just like put it into that fall slot. And so I got pregnant like in July. And so it was this big, like, can I get through it without like, it was my first child. So can I get through it without, I'm 5'9". So we figured I could make it to the end. There was some creative costuming. And I do remember asking Jamie Bullens, who was the costumer, if I could wear my like maternity black pants in I'm Still Hurting, which is the opening number.
Yes.
So I had like regular pants in my sad sweats. And then I was like, can I wear my own? Like towards the end. And then in summer in Ohio, I did that trick. I know you have a wife and kids. Yes. I did that trick where you use like a hair tie around, like I could still get into my pants, but like I would, wrap the hairband around the button and through the loop so that they were just like, it's like a little extra. I barely made it.
Ugh. Well, you made it, and that's great.
I did. I know. And my poor dresser had to stand there with a bowl because I would get sick so much. It was so bad, but I'm so thankful. Like that was one of those shows that, I don't know. Do you ever have those shows that you feel like you need to do?
Yes.
Like they're healing type shows. Like I felt like that told a story that I needed to get out of my system, like versus therapy. I like to just do shows that work through the feelings that I have numb.
No, the shows are very cathartic to me. Every show I do, it gets something out of me that I needed.
Yeah. And I made great friends. Like I made, Freddie, the artistic director, and even like audience members that I like sang at one of the audience members' weddings.
Oh,
years later. Yeah. So I know. Yeah. That's good times.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So anyways, when we moved here, I literally was in Atlanta from February until about December, maybe late November. I think it was right before Thanksgiving, pregnant. Well, my husband was in Savannah and I was in Atlanta, like house hopping between board members and directors of the Atlanta theater community. And I just kind of left the poor guy down here by himself.
He made it.
He made it. He survives. I've always done this. And I tell people that I did this when we met. So it wasn't like I changed course at some point and he didn't know what he was getting into.
Well, that's good. It's good to have an open book when you walk in.
Yeah, I wasn't all of a sudden like, I want to be an actor and I'm going to go and take out of town jobs. And he's used to this lifestyle. Yeah.
So I imagine when we do get back up and running at some point, there will be those out of town jobs again.
Yes. I mean, I try at this point. I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I have my standing gig with the music festival. But I try, I have like a bucket list. So I try to only leave if it's something that I feel like I need to do.
Yeah. I get it.
You know.
I myself am not equity, so I'll stick around here and just go from place to place.
And you'll just keep dropping out every time you get cast as my husband.
That's right.
Like, that girl, no.
I try not to do that too much. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about acting theory.
Okay.
So you mentioned that one specific person might be right for my own acting type, what I said I like to do.
I did.
And I believe that was someone with 9 questions. Am I right?
She does. Yeah. Uta Hagen. I thought you said you liked to be, everybody kind of branches off of Stanislavski. Like Stanislavski is the like Russian master. And then you get like Meisner, or you get Strasberg, which most people know as Method. And then Uta Hagen was kind of the first female to branch off, and she had a studio downtown in Manhattan. And her basis is, so I think tell me again what you said your style or your technique is.
Well, what I like to do is I like to bring myself to the role.
Yes.
And then expand on that. And I guess that's kind of what her theory is.
That's her concept is. Okay, so like Method would be that like you just stay in character all the time, and like most of us, we have jobs, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We're not Daniel Day-Lewis, we can't do that stuff. And then Stanislavski is very like thought out. Like I'm going to read my lines, I'm going to decide how I'm going to deliver my lines, and it doesn't give a lot of thought to how somebody else is like. There's no reaction, right? So you're like, I'm going to slap him in the face with this line. But like maybe the line before it, you didn't do anything to warrant that. So
it's more of a, like, if we're talking football terms, it's more of an offense than a defense.
Yes, 100%. Yes. And so it's really good for monologue work, though. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you have nobody to act with and you're trying to figure out how to do this 2-page monologue, it works in those, you know. It's also like the first technique. So I'm not like knocking Stanislavski at all. Okay. And then Meisner, he was a student of Stanislavski and he branched off, and his whole thing was that you have to be able to react. You can only react to what's given to you. Also works great. And I studied that. That was like the first technique I started studying in high school. Except if you're not with other Meisner actors, or if you're like in an audition setting where you're with a reader that's giving you nothing, then you're like, I'm I have nothing to react to.
Yeah.
So I think there's downfalls to each of them, but Uta Hagen is very interesting. So she kind of like combines all of the things, but she does a lot of character study, a lot of evaluating what you see, like what you notice, how you notice other people respond in situations. So she's kind of always observing. So you bring yourself to it, but then at times like that gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Or if you ever do something that's like emotional, you're like, oh, maybe I can do this for 2 weekends. Maybe I can do this for 9 performances. But sometimes I'm in shows where I'm doing 150 performances. And so how do you make performance 140? You're like not still crying over something on without technique, I would say. You're not still, it's too much for your soul to go there for 6 months.
Yeah.
But that totally works if it's a month-long project, right?
Right.
But
like we're not talking about like guy in Dear Evan Hansen who was there 8 days a week and just basically yeah.
Well,
and why is his name not coming to me? I'm my brain's dead.
Oh, his name. Oh gosh, now that you said it,
I don't feel bad now.
in The Politician.
Yes, The Politician.
Benjamin Platt.
What?
Platt?
Yes, Platt? Ben Platt. Platt. Yes, thank you.
Ooh, I like trivia.
Yeah. But yeah, so what I heard about his experience was he was going full tilt the whole time and was just, by the time he was done, he was absolutely exhausted.
Yeah. Neil Patrick Harris said that when he did Hedwig, he like literally drank a Red Bull before the show and like whatever, like that was how, I mean, he literally says it at that like Tony's round table, like when they're interviewing, like, how do you get through the show? And he's like, Red Bull. I know. And I've had that. So I play Judy Garland a lot. And one of the times I was doing End of the Rainbow, which is the story of the end of her life. So she's completely like recovering from a Ritalin addiction and then getting starting to take pills and drink again. So like she's at this high and then her career just starts to plummet. And it's one of those shows that it's just the whole time is you're at 11.
Yeah.
You're just always every scene is live and die, and there's no scene that you're not in. I'm not in as the Judy Garland character, and you don't get any time to sit backstage and recover. And I remember, so Freddie Ashley at Actors Express, he cast me in that and directed me in that, and I can remember coming to work like after the first month and getting good reviews for it. And like my friend Doyle Reynolds said, like he was jogging in West Midtown and like literally a car pulled him over and was like, where can I go to see this Judy Garland play? And he like texted me, he's like, people are talking about you on the MARTA. And I was like, oh, the pressure.
Now you know you've made it when they're talking about you on the MARTA.
Yes. Like the girl at Starbucks knew me, gave me like free drink. I know, I'm like, but then I was like, oh my God, what if I suck tonight? I started to have like life imitates art. Like I started to have that real feeling of, oh my God, what if I just
I gotta ask, do you throw that away as soon as you walk in the theater?
Not that day. I was like, Freddie. He was in his office. I'm like, but this is like the best advice I've ever gotten. I was like, Freddie, what if it's like one of those nights I just can't get there? And he just looked at me and he was like, that's when you use your technique.
Yeah.
That's when you went to school. That's what you've done. Like, that's when and the other, I tell this to my students all the time it's the Freddie Ashley technique. That's one of those plays that's very circular. And it's when you're someone who's like struggling with drug addiction and when they write that in plays, I never would be answering the question that was asked. I'd always be like responding to something that was said a minute ago. And so it's not like I'm getting any cues from anyone. Does that make sense?
No. Yeah, it makes sense.
And
because
so
that was the pattern of her mind at that time.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever spent any time with people that suffer from addiction, but yeah, they're not always linear.
Right.
And so, yeah, he just said to me, there's always, and I tell this to my kids that are like auditioning for Savannah Arts, or when they get nervous, like, or if you go up in a monologue, I don't know how actor savvy. So if you forget your line in the middle of a monologue, he would always say to me, there's a moment just around the corner that you're perfect at, that you lock right back in. Yeah. And then just let it all go. Like, just move on from the fact that you flubbed 2 lines, or you whatever, or that's like just didn't play as well as you wanted to that night. Like, so especially if you're in one of those shows where you don't get to leave and regroup, just know that there's like a moment that you're going to lock into, and it's right around the corner.
Right. What's next?
Yeah. What is next?
No, I mean, that's what I mean. That's essentially what you say in your head. It's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And yes. if you lose something, you just have to figure out, okay, what's the next big thing that happens?
Yeah. And a lot of times it'll go with your blocking, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to go sit on the windowsill and talk to so-and-so. And in that I'll regroup. Like, I just need to get through this thing that isn't working. And then I'll regroup over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's good stuff.
So with that in mind, I have to ask, and forgive me, but what is the worst thing that's happened to you on stage?
Oh, gosh. Well, I fell down in End of the Rainbow. Like,
okay, that's not so bad, because I've done that a number of times.
no, like fell down. And it was in this scene that where like the show is spiraling and she doesn't know what's going on, and she's throwing music at her band. And I was so mad, and I was walking backwards in my like red high heels, and I hit the microphone cord, and I was the only one on stage, like, and I just biffed it. Well, I guess that's probably better, right? Than like being in a group that's everyone's doing the same thing and you fall down. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I mean, when you look back at it, isn't that you can kind of play that off as the character, right?
Oh, I totally played it off as the character. Okay. And then I even had somebody like Facebook message me and be like, how do you do that fall every night? And I was like, I didn't tell the truth. I was like, oh, it's hard. Please don't come back to the show ever.
So yeah. I have a similar story. I was cast as King Triton in The Little Mermaid.
Fun.
Yeah, and so I had this. Of course, I had this train supposed to be my fin, right? And I can't remember what it was, but it was I remember exactly what it was. It was a very serious scene. I had laid into Ariel because she was going to visit that guy, and I was not happy about it.
I know.
And I had just destroyed her grotto, tore it apart. And I'm heading off stage. I'm like steamed, but at the same time, I'm like, and I've lost my daughter now, because I've not only lost her, but now I've lost her emotionally as well. She's gone.
Yes.
And yes, you should share the picture, Mandy, if you have it. So I'm walking off stage, and I'm almost all the way off stage, but I totally face plant. I'm just like down for the count, and but I get right back up and walk off. I'm like, well, so I played it off. I was like, well, I was just so steamed that I lost control of my fin. But,
yes. Well, see, at least though you weren't like in the chorus, like that does suck though.
Yeah. And it is, I think it's forever enshrined in photography somewhere. So I think I think Mandy's just trying to find a picture of me as Triton. So
Triton. I was in like right out of college, I was doing a little like bus and truck tour of which you totally couldn't, I need to apologize, you couldn't do now, of Sadako and 1,000 Cranes. And for some reason, I was the Japanese grandmother. I will say I was the only white person in the cast. Everybody else was Asian. I don't really know why I was there. I assume someone dropped out. I get that a lot. Like somebody dropped out and they're like, can you come in at the last minute and be this person? And so, and I don't know, did you ever read Hiroshima? I don't know if that's in the curriculum here, but it's like the dropping of the A-bomb in Japan, and it was a musical about it. And yeah, so the moment where Sadako is like little when the mom drops, but she folds 1,000 cranes. There's a huge monument to her in Hiroshima. But she's like on her deathbed, and the like friend, and I'm like the ghost of her grandma. And the friend comes like running into her hospital, and he just like trips, like slides across the stage. And of course we're doing it for like 4th and 5th graders, and we're, I don't know, in Valdosta. Like we're just in the middle of like nowhere, and nothing's gone right. And yeah. Oh my God.
How did the crowd react to that?
Oh, they were cracking up. And I was like,
this is a serious moment.
I want to laugh so hard. And the girl who, I won't say her name either, the girl who was playing Sadako was so mad. It was like her big death scene, and she just was like so steamed, and he didn't mean it. His name was Josh.
Man, you can just message me the picture and I'll share it. Don't worry about it. She's saying it won't let her share. So
oh no. That's so funny.
I'm sure I have it somewhere anyway.
That does remind me, though, that another terrible thing that happened was when I was doing A Midsummer Night's Dream. I was playing Helena, and I was in the one of the fight scenes with Demetrius, and I was holding onto his legs, and we were like up in Michigan, and the floor hadn't been sanded.
Oh no.
Yes. And this was one of those tours where like multiple people had left. It wasn't the most fun working conditions. And so we like started with a cast of 12. And by the end, we were like a cast of 7. And I was playing like Tom Snout, First Fairy, Helena, like any part you could change costumes and play, you would just jump in and play. And so, yeah, I was like wrapped around his leg, and he's dragging me across the stage. And I got this giant splinter in my bottom. And the only person off stage to pull it out was the guy that was playing Demetrius.
Oh my God.
Everybody else was on stage. So there we were trying to get, I mean, it was not small. It was like, oh gosh, see, I told you, I don't know. It was like this long.
Wow.
Horrible. And I was like, I can't even walk. Like I can't even, yeah. So that was awkward.
Okay. So Mandy sent me the picture so you can see.
Okay, here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah. This was backstage.
Oh my, oh wait, why are you in a wheelchair?
Well, I didn't have any legs. I couldn't walk around backstage. I don't know why there was a wheelchair there. You know what? I think that wheelchair was for Annie. That's probably, no, that's gotta be for something else. That's more modern.
I feel like all theaters have a wheelchair backstage.
Yeah, I think they do.
It's like a thing. I don't really know. Yes.
I was in a production of Annie there, but it was a totally different wheelchair than that one. I know that for sure.
Oh yeah, that doesn't look very Roosevelt. That's not period correct. That's funny. No, they're always there.
Yeah.
Weird things you can find backstage.
Well, people will just donate them. They'll say, there's a theater that could use this wheelchair, right?
Yeah, because there's so many shows for the handy capable.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
So let me ask you this. So you say you have a bucket list. What's next on your bucket list?
Well, the light in the piazza. Why you
well, yeah. But after that.
I'd like to play Mother in Ragtime. There's a great play called Cry It Out that I would love to do it's about moms working. I'm in the mom stage. It's 3 separate moms, and they're in these different stages. Like one wants to work. And her husband wishes that she was more maternal, and one has to go back to work but wants to stay home with her kid, and one is surprised that she is that when she has her child, she doesn't want to go back to her job. So it's kind of explores these 3 women. So I'm really obsessed with that one right now.
Yeah. Which mother would you want to be?
I like all the parts. I don't know. I think I relate to the one who was surprised that she wanted to stay home the most. But the working mom, the one who likes to work, has this great monologue at the end. They did it at one of the festivals, and literally the woman came in like throwing eggs at the other women. So I don't know. Those are the 2 I think I relate to the most. Opposites. Yeah.
But Light in the Piazza is hopefully next at some point.
Hopefully.
get the rights back. I don't really know where they are with that.
I don't know what anybody's going to do with their next seasons and what kinds of things COVID will allow people to do. So the union's being really, I'm a proud member of Actors Advocate.
They have concern.
Very conscientious about what we are allowed. So they say until there's a vaccine, like until they know that nobody will be COVID injured, they're not going to let us work. I know there's some people having like conversations behind the scenes about the different regions and things. Like not everything is Broadway. But because there's probably a faction that wants to work and is willing to take the risk, and then there's a faction that doesn't want to work and doesn't want to take. Everybody's at a different place with their coronavirus ideas,
And it changes daily too, so it's.
Yeah, like I was telling Mandy, hi girl, that I was really in this place when they postponed The Light in the Piazza, where in my mind, I was still practicing the music. It's a really hard score. So I was still trying to learn the music and thinking like, a month, that's going to be fine. And then when the governor reopened and it was like a possibility, I was like, oh, I don't know. It's such a weird thing. Theater is such a weird thing. You meet these total strangers. Like if you were playing my husband, we've never met. We're in complete like close proximity to one another, definitely virus sharing proximity to one another. And you don't know anything about these people, right? Like what their version of social distancing is, what their version of safe is. Sometimes you have kissing scene. I mean, like there's just stuff that you have to navigate through. And I found myself being like, oh, maybe it is too early. Once we actually maybe could do it. So I was happy that Savannah Rep, I felt like made the right call to keep everyone safe. Yeah,
the hard call for sure.
Yeah, and audience members tend to be older, so my conscience, I would feel horrible if somebody came and got sick. So yeah, I think it was the right call. But
I agree.
But support theater if you can, y'all. I don't know who's watching. If you have a little extra, I know that's rare.
People will watch later as well.
I know that's rare. I'm just saying, if you have something to donate.
Yes, I agree. Everybody's suffering now. Theater's suffering, but so is everyone else, and we all know that. But we want something to come back to. We really do.
No. Maybe this will be the time that, like the younger generation that aren't necessarily theater goers, the 20-something generation, like maybe they'll come up with something that kind of bridges the gap between Netflix and theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the time that people get creative, right?
Yes, it is. We're trying to be creative. We are.
Did you ever see there was a production of The Tempest in London where the Ariel character was a hologram?
No, I haven't seen that.
If you ever get a chance on the Royal Shakespeare website, you can go, or even on YouTube where your show is, you can find them. And then
subscribe. Sorry.
They do this whole backstory on how they made it work and how like the actor playing Prospero, because he was like acting with nobody, like I said earlier. So then you don't want to be Meisner if you're acting with nobody. And so, how they were going to work this hologram. So the guy that was Ariel, he was like kind of walking, he had to be on the stage and doing the movements, but the projections would come like all over the place, which was fascinating. So then I was like, I wonder if we're going to get more of that kind of.
But was it was real time that the hologram was being projected? Oh, wow.
And it would float above him, and Ariel, because, Ariel's the fairy, like that. Yeah. So he could spin, he could he was green and very, because sometimes he gets angry. And
very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right, I'll look that up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it wouldn't work for every.
No, you have to have.
No, but I was like,
you have to have the budget, I think.
Oh, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. You'd have to have the budget. Yes, which I just said people don't have right now.
Right. But you could definitely do any type of show where it's one person acting against a godlike creature.
Yeah.
That is projected on screen.
I got to see before he passed, John C. Reilly and Philip Seymour Hoffman do.
Oh gosh, I thought you meant John C. Reilly had passed. I'm like,
no, Philip Seymour Hoffman
right.
passed. I saw them do the Zoo Story in Manhattan where they switched every night. So I think we're going to see kind of stuff like that. Interesting 2-person shows, Waiting for Godot, those things where all of Anna Devere Smith's stuff, she always writes these one-woman shows where she plays like 10 characters. I think we'll see that stuff come back first.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be a slow build for sure. I think they're talking about 6 in London. Yeah, that'll be like the first thing that premieres there when they come back.
Yeah,
it's a small cast, of course.
Yeah, and a friend of mine who is in Book of Mormon, he's back home in Atlanta now, but he's like, we're definitely reopening. Like he's in the Broadway cast. He's like, we're when they let us open, that show will come back.
Oh, that show has to come back.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. I mean, you never know how long it's going to be.
Yeah, I know.
Some people, I think, don't know when they're coming back.
Well, hopefully soon. Not soon enough. Let's say that.
I know, not soon enough for my mom, who might watch this later.
My mom usually watches. My mom's not watching now, but
she's a big theater subscriber. She really misses. That's something that's lacking. We were going to head up to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival this summer, and that got postponed. But she was still in California, but she has like 3 separate and friends that she goes to the theater with, and so it's hard if you're a theater person. Yes. Or concert goers, that's really lacking for people that enjoy that. That's their entertainment.
Yeah, I guess fortunately, as far as concerts go, that they seem to be doing more and more of that as far as quarantine concerts, that kind of thing. Because I guess because everybody's stationary the whole time, they can make it easier to do.
Yeah. And you can film that stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
We're out of luck.
We're out of luck. It's fine. I've been telling all my young actors that are like musical theater based, I'm like, well, now's the time to really explore like the great plays. Like you should be reading Anne of Green Gables. You should be reading The Miracle Worker. You should be looking at those great young person play roles, because I just think those are coming back faster than musicals.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. I don't know. Musicals always put more people in the room.
Yes. Expressing themselves much more from their mouths at each other.
Yes. And then you have instrument, it's, So, or film. You've started to work on some film stuff.
Sort of, not really. I mean, I've been, actually, I should say that because it was mentioned yesterday when I had an interview with Maggie Hart and Jose Ray.
Yeah,
we were talking about the Savannah Children's Theater and how they're doing a lot of their productions. They have a small cast, and in separate spaces, they're doing their camps, and then they'll do the production, and it's all videoed. So,
okay.
Yeah. And so the parents can go on and watch later. They of course can't be in the audience, but they still get to enjoy the performance of their kids, even so.
Yeah, and the kids get to go like in small pods to the classes, like get to go to the theater and be taught, or they're being taught online.
Yeah. No, they're at the theater. They're actually at the theater.
Yeah, that's great.
And they wipe everything down. Every one of the counselors and the staff is masked the whole time. They take the temperature as soon as they walk in. So it's very a safe space.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's good that they could figure that out, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
So we've gone on for a while.
I know.
And it's been so enjoyable. I've really enjoyed this.
Did I teach you anything?
You did. You taught me that I'm doing the right thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I will actually
notice before we sign off. I'm wearing a black shirt, and you have a black background. I have a navy blue and white stripe background, and you are in a navy blue shirt with a white undershirt. We totally color coordinated, and we don't
totally
know.
did. And we didn't even talk about this beforehand. So
no, I just noticed it.
It's very Art Nouveau or whatever.
I know, right? We're very meta.
That's it, meta. That's what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, it's been a fascinating experience, and I have so enjoyed this, and I appreciate your time, Natasha.
Oh yes, my pleasure. Good luck with the show. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for teaching me something.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So that was very enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it as well. This was episode 1 of The Lesson. Hopefully I'll learn something more next time. We'll see. Have a good evening. Sitcom freeze!